Right, welcome to another Hey Joe, what you know. Delighted. We've got Dan Clubbe again with me from the Red Men TV. Last time we spoke, Dan, was the middle of last season. Then the Reds went on to win the league. Obviously, we've had the tragedy of Diogo Jota, um, and then back into the new pre-season. You've been away in Singapore and Hong Kong. Loads has been happening. How are you, first of all? And yeah,
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks. I'm all right. Yeah, it's been a summer, hasn't it? It's been a few months for lots of reasons, good and tragic and bad, as you alluded to there. But yeah, no, it's been quite the experience. It's fair to say. Obviously, the tour was unbelievable. We've had highs and lows all summer long. Really, obviously, the Premier League win was a real high. The summer in terms of the transfer business has been beyond our wildest dreams. So yeah, trying to stay across it all, it feels like it's impossible to stay across it all, the truth be told. But yeah, we're getting there, and I'm okay. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
excellent stuff. And the Red Men TV have been doing some great stuff. And really enjoyed your documentary that you put out the other day about the lost medals, which
Yeah, that one in particular is something that obviously this we do a lot of content here. We do a lot of transfer stuff, a lot of in the moment, a lot of matches, results, highs, lows of all that sort of stuff as well. That one was really sort of I felt quite unique, quite special. It's been close to my heart for God, nigh on 9 months when I started out on the quest to make it happen. So I'm really, really pleased that it's out there now in terms of the story, and I'm really, really pleased with the response and the feedback we've got. So yeah, I appreciate that as well.
so did you go to the club to sort of get the process restarted for some of the players almost?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So without going into too much detail, basically I sort of set off on the quest as mentioned in the documentary itself when someone said to me, I think I'm owed a medal from a season, and literally it was one player, one person saying I might be owed a medal from some years ago. So I looked into that as explained, and then found out there was 16 more players that were owed medals as well, and went, okay, this is really something. Looked into why it hadn't happened and the fact that other clubs had done it and thought, what's going on? Why haven't Liverpool done this basically? So it started off, truthfully, and Liverpool were aware of this as well, as a little bit of a campaign almost, basically like to get some groundswell and to get people back in it and to get Liverpool as a fan base to come together and say this needs to happen. So the club almost couldn't ignore it. The club never did ignore it, and when we reached out to the club to say it was going to go out as a documentary and this is a thing that we believe needs to happen, the club straight away kind of just went, oh my God, yeah, we agree, this needs to happen. So there was never really any need for any bad blood or any campaign to be a thing. It was just a case of we brought it back to the club's attention, if you like, and they were like, "Yeah, you are right. Let's do this together." So that's kind of the long and short of how it happened. And like I say, it changed from being somewhat of a campaign, like I say, and a reason and a cause to get behind to being like, "There's a story here. Let's tell this story in the best way that we know how." And at the end of it, in hopefully the next month or two, there'll be loads of Liverpool legends getting medals. So yeah, a story with a happy ending.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. And then let's talk about the transfers first, and I'll ask you about Diogo and all of that a bit later on towards the end of the show. But yeah, it has been a great transfer window for Liverpool. Unbelievable, really. I don't think we were expecting this after the league win, were we? No, not quite so
God,
many potentially.
you don't expect this full stop, do you,
Yeah,
regardless of the circumstances. And that's not just because of Liverpool's previous track record and transfer history. We have spent when necessary, and we've spent big when necessary as well. But to do the summer that we are doing, and there's still room for more, of course, as we sit here right now. The Isak possibility remains a strong possibility. Is, as I said at the top, it's beyond our wildest dreams, really. It's not something I ever envisaged. There was clearly work to be done on the squad, and there was clearly areas that were upgradable, some of which we've already dealt with, arguably one or two that we haven't. But then to add Florian Wirtz, because you could have said to me, you are going to go and get a striker, Ekitike, and you are going to get Kirkes, and you're probably going to upgrade the centre back, and there might be one or two more. Obviously, we need the right back because of the Trent stuff and all that. And I'd have gone, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. But then if you just said, oh, by the way, you're going to sign Florian Wirtz while you're at it, you'd go, come on now, why? Like, why? And why is because he's a world class footballer, but it was not a necessity, like really. We were quite well stocked in that area. Dom Szoboszlai had a very good season. Harvey Elliott I really, really like. So there was no need to go and do the extra 10, but we've done it anyway. That's what makes it all the more remarkable, really. Like I say, there's still areas that need to be addressed, which makes it fascinating in itself because we're 3 and a bit weeks away from the end of the window. And last night was the double-header pre-season friendly at Anfield, of course, and we had one senior centre back at our disposal, Ibu Konate. The rest of it was made up with Andy Robertson, Trey Naoni, Wataru Endo playing the second game alongside Ibu, and then youngsters off the bench, like real youngsters off the bench as well. So yeah, there's still definitely absolute must-haves in the window still. So it's just been honestly mind-blowing the business that we've been able to do so far in terms of incomings and outgoings have been quite smart and savvy as well. The Jarell Quansah one right now looks not odd, but a
Mm.
little bit surprising because he must have been sold, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago? And ever since, there's been no new centre back arrival. So you do look at that with what I've said a moment ago and go, okay, that doesn't make loads of sense. But there's still time for that to make sense. I think if Liverpool get a centre back, Mark Gahey, to use
Yeah.
that name, and then a young one in terms of profile as well, a younger one, I should say, in terms of profile, then yeah, I don't think we can have any complaints really about Liverpool's window because it's just been remarkable.
Yeah, it has been, hasn't it? And I mean, if Isak does come, there's been some comparisons with Ekitike. How do you think they're going to fit together?
Yeah, it's an interesting one that, and I think we saw Ekitike obviously last night in the flesh, really for the first time, certainly in Anfield, and he does drift to the left. It's fair to say, so maybe there is some scope for him to play from the left a little bit, but I do think they are ultimately just two number nines who are going to compete for the number nine berth. Now, Alexander Isak naturally will get the lion's share of that if indeed he does become a Liverpool player because he's excellent. But we probably do need two number nines. I think obviously we touched on Jota earlier on. Darwin Núñez we're anticipating will leave as well. So
Looks like it.
almost immediately there is space for that within the squad, and there's probably enough football for that within the squad as well. Because obviously Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, plus the 38 game Premier League season. So I don't really fear that. And it was interesting because obviously when Newcastle were linked with Ekitike, a lot of Liverpool fans, well, you can't have Ekitike and Isak, that's stupid. But then we might have that. But I do think that's fine. I think we do have the wherewithal and the squad demands to
Mm.
facilitate those two. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm not sure Newcastle did have in the same way, which sounds stupid because they compete in the same competitions. But I just think in terms of how they compete in the same competitions looks different personally. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic. What Hugo Ekitike thinks about it all, I'm not entirely sure because he's been signed as sort of like the marquee big summer signing for a striker, and then we go and sort of pay almost double to get Isak is interesting. But yeah, it's a nice problem to have. Let's put it like that.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, one person who really caught the mark with a great goal early on was Rio Ngamoa. I mean, what a prospect he looks like. But he seems to
I
have kicked on, hasn't he? There was lots of rumours, came from Chelsea, um, great potential, but now we're obviously starting to see it. And how much do you think he's going to feature this season?
Yeah, hopefully a lot. I'm really torn on Rio and in the best possible way, if you like, because I'm a huge, huge admirer of his. I've seen a lot of him, a lot of people, and this isn't to slander Liverpool fans. A lot of people only really seeing him now in this pre-season, but I've watched him since he arrived at the football club more or less for the 18s, for the 21s, and of course his first team outings to date. And he is a remarkable talent, really, really special. There's no two ways about it. The developments and the improvements he's made, even in the 12 months since he got here, are clear for all to see. He's playing beyond his years right now. Um, so there's loads of positives. He's still very raw. He's still very young, very, very young, 16, 17 soon, to be fair. And I just think a lot of people, myself included, have toyed with the idea of maybe he is just the understudy to Cody Gakpo. But that looks like a lot of minutes.
Mm.
Like, if you look at the minutes Diaz played, I know he wasn't Gakpo's understudy, they very much swapped and changed, but if he was just straight swap for those minutes,
Yeah.
that's a lot. And that's a lot to put on Rio and Gamoa, not in terms of ability, because I don't really doubt that,
Mm.
but just in terms of the workload
Yeah,
and just in terms of the intensity of it all. And I do fear, and I do wonder more importantly, whether Liverpool are keen to not do too much too soon and to not rush in. I was going to ask Arne Slot, actually, funny enough, in the post-match press conference after the Yokohama game, how wary he was of overplaying and sort of rushing Rio and Gamoa because I think it's something Liverpool will definitely be conscious of, and Liverpool have handled and treated the academy lads so well in recent years. They'll be keen not to overuse and sort of overexpose Rio and Gamoa in many ways as well. Now, there is also the school of thought and the argument that he's just so good, just let him play football, and I get both. You know what I mean? I really do get both, but I do wonder whether Liverpool will be more inclined to fall on the he can come in and out and he can play Carabao Cup minutes and FA Cup minutes and who knows, featuring some Premier League games from the bench and stuff like that. But in terms of, like I say, straight back up to Cody Gakpo, that feels exciting. It feels like a hell of a lot to ask.
yeah, definitely. I suppose Liverpool's squad are in a bit of a different position to times when we've had young prospects of a similar age come through, like Owen, Sterling, for example. They've had to be straight in there because they were stars, weren't they? And we needed them at those times. But yeah, we've got that sort of we're going to have that buffer, let's say, where we can ease them in properly,
Yeah.
hopefully.
I think so, and that would be the I think that would be the preferred method really when it comes to Rio. But again, you look at the makeup of the squad now. Whilst you're not wrong in what you say, we're expecting Darwin to leave, as I mentioned. Chiesa could well move on as well. So quickly you go from having that buffer to Gakpo's your left winger, and under him it's probably Ian Momoa. Like there's other lads, there's other names out there. Lewis Kumas is one who can play from that side and predominantly does play from that side, but realistically he's probably likely to head out on loan as well. And some would argue that Rio's ahead of him in terms of the pecking order. So yeah, I don't and it's hard to argue with that given the fact he started preseason games and Lewis hasn't and he went on a tour and Lewis didn't as well. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Liverpool address that and whether Hugo Ekitike is a viable option out there. Who knows? Because, as I say, if the Premier League season was starting tomorrow and the window is closed, let's
Yeah,
caveat it with that as well. All of a sudden, you are in a world where Rio Momoa is the only recognised left winger behind Cody Gakpo, which Liverpool might be perfectly fine with that, and that's perfectly fine by me. But I do just wonder whether Liverpool are a little bit cautious when it comes to that.
yeah, sure. And then just looking at the season, like your sort of hopes for the next season, how what can we do?
What can't we do, really, to be honest? And that sounds somewhat arrogant, but we're sitting in with Premier League champions, and we've had the summer of all summers, more or less, give or take. You know, obviously with the outgoings, and of course, again, to mention the horrific, tragic news when it comes to Diogo. But yeah, in terms of what's happened in Woodley in the door, it's been just absolutely phenomenal. Now, again, I mentioned it earlier on, there are definitely things to address still, and Liverpool don't have all the in-house solutions that maybe we'd like to one or two of the issues. So there will still need to be work to be done. But yeah, I wonder how much the Carabao Cup final defeat will have stung. Obviously, the FA Cup exit will have stung to Plymouth. I'm certain of that as well. And probably more poignantly and more importantly, the PSG elimination will have stung a hell of a lot. I think PSG were the better team over the two legs for what it's worth, but still. So Liverpool want to put that right. Liverpool want to right the wrongs in all three of those competitions, in particular the Champions League, of course. So yeah, I'm not suggesting for 1 second the Premier League's a foregone conclusion because it absolutely isn't. But as we sit here right now, it's hard to not believe that we're strong favourites for the Premier League and in amongst the favourites for the Champions League. I haven't looked, but I would imagine PSG might be favourites, followed by us, I would have thought. And that's probably about right, given how good we are and what we've done in the market as well. So, yeah, still room for improvement, still work to be done. But I'm absolutely convinced that Liverpool's outlook, Liverpool's mindset will be, yeah, Premier League, Champions League, and domestic cup would be nice.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the teams that were in the Club World Cup do as well. I think Chelsea will fire out the blocks. I think City will probably fire out the blocks as well. So it's just about how those teams sustain their sort of challenge going over because they basically have a year of football essentially, apart from a couple of weeks off. Yeah. And just if we can touch on Diogo, and it's just been over a month now since he passed away, and I saw Chloe was on the tribute that Liverpool did, um, you know, with Peter McDowell and the other pundits that were on. So poignant that she what she was saying as well. It was so sad. And how have you guys t dealt with it at the Redmen TV? And yeah, what have the dealings with the club been like since?
Yeah, on that final, full credit to the club and their handling of it. In truth, I thought it was exemplary in the most difficult circumstances imaginable. And yeah, it was exactly that, really. It was just, yeah, heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And to be, from a personal perspective, to be sort of involved in any way, shape, or form in having to comprehend, deal, and speak about something so tragic was something I never wanted to be involved in, if you'd be told. But yeah, it's just, yeah, your heart just goes out to obviously his loved ones and the family. Football comes very much second in all of that. But yeah, it was tricky. There's no two ways about it. It was really, really tricky again to bring it back to sort of us and what we do here because when is the right time to return to talk about football after that? You know, when can you get back to some sort of semblance of normality? It felt for a bit there like it was impossible, but obviously it wasn't. So you do eventually find the right time and find the right words to do so. But yeah, honestly, the immediate aftermath of it was just the most heartbreaking circumstances, the most heartbreaking days we had to go through, really, because you in the job that we do, we speak about the highs and lows of Liverpool Football Club, but they're so meaningless in the grand scheme of things. So Liverpool lose a game of football, case of Arsenal a little bit. And then this happens, and you're like, wow, all of a sudden, like you mentioned Chloe on LCTV, Chris did stuff, I was on like ITV News at lunch, and you're like, I'm not qualified in any way, shape, or form to speak about this. Like, I can speak about Liverpool losing the game or Liverpool win the game till the cows come home, transfers, absolutely. But this is beyond what I'm capable of. So, yeah, I'd like to think, I believe, actually, I'll go a step further. I believe every single person in the Liverpool sphere, whether it be on social media, whether it be what we do, whether it be the football club, whatever. I think they handled it perfectly, and that's credit and testament to everybody because there is no playbook for that. Nobody anticipated. It's unprecedented to use that well-coined phrase now. Nobody ever prepares you to have to wake up one day and speak about that. It
No.
just wasn't in my thought process ever. But I think in the circumstances, like I say, I think everybody handled it pretty well.
Yeah, he was such a lovely guy as well. And I know that you guys did features with him as well over
Yeah,
the past couple of years. Um,
yeah, we did.
yeah. Well, Dan, thanks very much, mate. I'll let you go on that note, but onwards and upwards for Liverpool this season, and we'll see how we get on. Bournemouth up, oh, Community Shield, then Bournemouth up next.
Yeah,
Um,
don't forget about the big 50p trophy this weekend. Don't forget about that. No, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for having me, I should say. I'm used to hosting these things, you can tell. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
all good. Thanks, Dan. Like and subscribe, everybody, and we'll be back with more soon.